D. Mace Finnegan and Donick 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And we are presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. Derek Mason will join Jake Lyman again today on Stillman and Company. We will be reunited next week. I've missed Derek.
Yeah.
It's odd not having him here. It makes me sad.
Well, and next Monday when we're back together, he will be a Hall of Famer.
He will be a Tennessee Sports
Hall
of Famer. He will be inducted into said Hall of Fame tomorrow. And we will pay tribute to our good friend, Derek Mason, later in the program. I'm battling a cold today. I'm afraid I'm going to sound like Jared's terrible impression of me for the next 3 hours. Have you heard Jared's terrible impression of me?
I haven't. I did hear Joe Rexrode's impression of Paul Kuharsky, kind of the extreme, and the John Glennon, which is pretty good.
I made the mistake when I first met John Glennon more than 10 years ago of telling him he sounded like Jim Varney, a.k.a. Ernest. And I don't know if he's ever let that go.
He hasn't let it go?
I don't know. If John is listening, you let me know, friend.
I don't know if I would ever let that go either, to be fair.
But when I first met him, we were both working at the Tennessean. I said, has anybody ever told you sound like Jim Varney? I don't know if that went over well. But he's still my friend, so that's okay.
But he has a voodoo doll of you somewhere.
That may explain the cold. But Jared's impression of me is of a stereotypical nerd in an 80s movie. According to my calculations.
Yeah, okay. I have heard him do that. Yes,
basically. So I'm not a great impressionist, so I don't have a Jared impression. Maybe I will form one, but I am afraid that I am going to sound like Jared's terrible impression of me for the next 3 hours. Josh on our text line says, cold in the summer? I felt the same way. I don't know how I have a cold in the summer.
It's shocking.
Yes, but I will survive.
It does happen, though. It does happen.
I will power through for all of you on this Friday. But because of the cold, Willie, I had a hard time sleeping last night, so I spent a lot of time scrolling through social media, looking at all of the Coldplay concert memes. We discussed this at the end of yesterday's show.
So that's how you were playing while you had a cold? You were cold playing?
I didn't even realize that. That's a good one, my friend. But a lot of great memes, in case you missed it.
Oh, the memes are like the moment is a viral moment. There's no question about it, but the memes are even better.
Absolutely. And in case you missed it, apparently the CEO of a company called Astronomer was outed for having an affair with his HR chief. Talk about complicated. At a Coldplay concert in Boston. It was at Gillette Stadium. I learned this after the show yesterday. And it's led to a ton of hilarious memes on social media. Willie, I never thought anything would be more cringeworthy than someone being proposed to at a sporting event.
Right.
But then I saw somebody apparently being outed for having an affair at a concert. And I think that may take the cake.
It might take the cake. And on top of it, he wrote a statement, right? He put the statement out.
Now, to be fair,
is that for real?
That was a fake statement.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, that wasn't real.
I was going to say, I wanted to check before I took the bait. I was like, please tell me this is not real.
That statement did get around social media.
Okay,
but I
because
believe
it's just for at least the first 75% believable. And then at the end, you're like, wait a minute.
If I recall correctly,
put the lyrics to a song at the very end.
If I recall correctly, I don't know if this was real or not. David, correct me if it's not. But I believe at some point the wife of the gentleman who was caught having an affair removed his last name from her Facebook account, and that went viral.
Ouch.
That I don't know if that's true or not.
But this is fascinating. As I said, I did not think there would be anything more cringeworthy than being proposed to at a sporting event. There is one specific instance I recall several years ago. A gentleman proposed to his girlfriend at a Houston Rockets game, and she said no and walked off the court. And the mascot, who was standing there to perhaps greet the couple,
Congratulate them.
the mascot just kind of looked around like, what do I do now?
And so we think that was not a stage thing.
It might have been. That's the problem. I can't tell the difference between something staged and something real.
I would like to think I have a keen eye for things that are staged and things that are not, but because I've seen a lot. So that could have gone. I haven't seen that one. But yes,
I will find it.
The cringeworthiness meter on this one at the Coldplay. And it's so funny that Coldplay is coming here, right?
Next week, Nissan Stadium.
Nissan Stadium. I've seen Coldplay twice, at least twice, 2 or 3, twice, but never at a stadium.
Next Tuesday, July 22nd, Coldplay at Nissan Stadium.
I'm a big connoisseur of Coldplay.
As I said yesterday, if you are listening to this and you are having an affair and you think you want to take your side piece to this Coldplay concert, think again. I'm just
The side piece.
You've been warned. You've been warned. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. If
Don't
Or
do
do
it.
go
If
and
you've-
be outed. Either way, that works.
You really have a blind spot if you get caught at this one.
Or
But I'm curious about the meme factor though. The signs,
yes.
like what are people going to do? Like you know that there's some people looking to get attention that will cook something up. For
If
this.
Coldplay is smart, they will make an event out of that viral moment, and they
Yeah.
will do it at every concert.
And-
The,
and
aff-
does
the
anybody
affair
know-
cam at the Coldplay concert.
what song were they playing when this happened? Did we know?
That's
was
a
it, was
good
it
idea.
Lights? I mean, because the funny mock statement had the lyrics from Lights.
I don't know. I don't think they were playing a song at that moment.
Oh, they
I think
weren't.
I think it
wasn't
was
during
just
a
like
song.
I think it was just like the part where they're like they just ended the song and they're now going they're trying to transition.
Okay.
I think that's when it happened.
Hmm.
And they're just like, oh, look at this couple. They're all together. And it's like, oh, never mind. They're not a happy couple.
No. That has to be the worst way to be outed for
But
having an
what are
affair.
a couple of the memes like? There's like people holding signs like a poor person on the. It's all a gag or whatever. Like at least I didn't get caught.
I am a big fan of The Sopranos. It's my favorite television show, along with The Simpsons, 2 very different television shows. A lot of Tony Soprano with his many mistresses. I saw a lot
Right.
of those memes last night. That made me laugh. Wes in Clarksville on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com, says, at least if you are with your side piece, just don't be wrapped up hugging them. LOL. I did recall a local news story from within the past few years when Taylor Swift was touring, and they interviewed a person who was wearing basically a towel over their head with sunglasses keeping the towel on their head. And the Chiron on the bottom said that they did not want to reveal their identity because they called in sick from work to attend the Taylor Swift concert. So they put a towel over their head to mask their identity. If you're going to have an affair at the Coldplay concert, wear a mask, perhaps.
That probably would have worked better. I love the sidekick friend, the female friend of the woman that was right in the shot.
Yes.
The look on her face, like the disbelief and the astonishment, like, oh my, there are going to be ramifications for this. Like the guy ducks, like he ducks for cover. The woman turns around and can't face the camera. So the only face you see is like, it looks like presumably a coworker of hers or something, a good friend of hers that knows the deal. And she's just, her jaw is dropped and she's like, a picture's worth 1,000 words. It just says it all. Her words, her expression.
One texter says, imagine being this worried that your spouse just found out you're having an affair. Meanwhile, the real embarrassment is how the whole world now knows you went to a Coldplay concert.
Throwing shade at my guys? Coldplay? Come on.
Coldplay doesn't deserve that.
It's not their fault.
Chris Martin didn't know. Don't be rude. Speaking of rude, one texter says, Dave says, if you're going to impersonate Jared, just learn to talk out of your butt. No.
Oof.
Ouch.
Friday zingers are flying.
Yes. So again, my piece of advice for all of you. Look, if you're out there and you've got a side piece, I'm not going to judge you. Maybe a little bit, but I'm not going to judge you. Just if you're going to go to the Coldplay concert with your side piece, just make sure you're not caught canoodling on the big screen.
Don't cuddle. How about that?
Yes.
Just don't cuddle, and then you won't get noticed.
Correct. Don't cuddle. To sports, Willie Donick. Lloyd Howell, the NFLPA executive director, has resigned. We've talked about this story over the past couple of weeks. Lloyd Howell has been, let's call him scandal-ridden with a potential conflict of interest and this NFLPA collusion case that I guess wasn't collusion, but actually was collusion. But you were adamant, as well as Derek, that somebody had to pay the price for this. And apparently Lloyd Howell took it upon himself to resign, knowing that he's been a big distraction over the past couple of weeks. But what's interesting about this, Willie, is when this story first came out about the collusion grievance, it was broken by Pablo Torre. He tag teamed on the story, I believe, with Mike Florio. It didn't really generate a lot of interest.
No, and if it weren't for those guys, this wouldn't even be out there. This guy would still be running the Players Association.
But it picked up over the past couple of weeks with additional reporting from ESPN. And now it has
Don
led,
Van Natta, I think, who is kind of
Yes.
an outsider a little bit. He's a old school journalist, for lack of a better term.
Yes. I'm a big fan of his work.
Yes, he's very good.
So ESPN did some additional reporting. There have been some other outlets that have done reporting on this. Lloyd Howell resigns as NFLPA executive director.
He resigns after getting the, quote, vote of confidence. Like, we are totally together on this. And then,
That's never a good sign. The
Right.
vote of confidence
But it was
is
like-
never a good sign.
but remember, it was sort of the contradictory vote of confidence. Like we steadfastly dispute all of this unrest of these rumors of our, we're actually going to take a look at this. Like they put it in the secondary statement. It was kind of like, we actually are looking internally to make sure that our process is good. And then less than a week later, this guy's gone. But it's a sad reflection of the state of the NFLPA. I think it should have the players looking themselves in the mirror and asking themselves, do I need to get in the game a little bit more here and get involved? It is easy. I admit. And I think in all walks of life, we have this, right? We just want to go to work and have fun, right? For most football players, you just want to go play. You don't want to worry about all this stuff. But it is a lesson in, if you pay no attention to who's leading you and it's somebody that's representing you, then you can get walked over. And I do think that, fortunately for the players, they got to this point. Now the question is, what do you do about it? Who's your next leader? And what type of person do you want in that seat? You want labor peace, but you also have to push back a little bit just to get what you deserve, right? You're not looking to overthrow the owners. You're not looking to create labor unrest, but you are the product, right? The players are the product. And so at the very least, have somebody that's in the trenches with you fighting for you and not in the hip pocket of the owners, which is what was happening here.
As part of his statement, Lloyd Howell said, quote, "It's clear that my leadership has become a distraction to the important work the NFLPA advances every day." And Nate on our text line says, "I like how he calls himself being a distraction. He's not a distraction. He's an idiot that didn't care about the players."
I don't know how he got there to begin with. I don't know how it was all right for him to not get vetted. And then the real question that we hit hard last week, which ended up being his downfall, is why on earth would the Players Association sign somebody representing the Players Association sign a confidentiality agreement when there was hardcore evidence that the owners colluded against you. You would want that out everywhere and use it as a hammer for, if nothing else, maybe not to turn everything around that day, but for leverage going forward. And he double crossed him. He swept it under the rug. A lot of the players weren't even aware that this was going on until a couple of weeks ago. But this is, I was listening to the MMQB podcast with Connor Orr and Albert Breer. Good conversation about this. They actually had a podcast episode before the verdict last night. They were just discussing it. And Albert Breer used good terminology. This is the tough part. And D Mace was a player rep, so he knows this as well. The challenge for the NFL players, which is different than the baseball, the basketball, and even the hockey players. He called them the rank and file. There's a large cross-section every year of players that would be fortunate to make it in the league for 2 or 3 years. They're not going to get a second contract. There's a lot of them, right? We lament all the time about the draft picks for the Titans that never make it to the second contract. Right now, the Titans are in a huge drought in terms of the percentage of players that they're even giving a second contract to. So all of those players, why would they sit out a couple of weeks and miss some paychecks when they're only going to be in the league 2 or 3 years tops? Some of them not even that. So the labor long-term struggle, they're just not as invested in the fight as maybe a league where the contracts are guaranteed, where you're likely to play a little bit longer. The money you're going to make is a little bit more on the front end. So that's the challenge. But at the same time, the NFL is such a big, big thing that you would think if you could rally a group that big, you could make inroads there with stuff like guaranteed contracts.
One texter says, that's basically how all politicians get elected. Not enough people care or have actual knowledge of what's going on to make good decisions. The football PA is no different.
Well, that's why I think tactics like using the media to your advantage and exposing the owners when they are trying to pull a fast one like that, which they were, that's where you have to have shrewd leadership that knows how to play that game and not a guy that's like, ooh, this could create some big. Roger Goodell might get mad if this gets out. Let's keep this under the rug. Let's not tell the guys that they were colluding. So he gone. Now the question is, who's the guy? Who steps up? Who wants that job? It's not an easy job.
Well, Howell was paid at least $3.6 million annually. So
yeah, and he was also getting $3 million
from
this
lucrative job,
from this equity, or what do you call it, the fund or whatever group he was with that's trying to buy into an ownership group.
So not only
he was double dipping,
did the NFL and NFLPA hide a bombshell arbitrator's ruling in a union grievance about collusion, this according to Front Office Sports. These are some of the other revelations about Lloyd Howell that have come out in recent weeks. He declined to leave his part-time role at private equity firm Carlyle, a potential conflict of interest as Carlyle is approved to buy stakes in NFL teams.
Yeah, he made $3 million plus from that group last year.
He was sued for sexual discrimination in 2011 while working as an executive at Booz Allen, and Booz Allen later paid a $377 million fine to the government for its conduct while Howell was its chief financial officer.
So there was that. Yeah, that was shady as well. That was bad.
Yes.
It took a whistleblower. So, yeah, that's your leader. That was your leader.
Make good decisions, NFLPA.
Yeah. But I can understand, too, like a player who's getting ready for training camp, the last thing he wants to sit there and do is like, hey, man, we got to find a new leader. We got to worry about the labor stuff. You don't want to do that. You're in your playbook. You're getting ready. You want to be in shape. But this is part of it.
615
need good leadership.
737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will take your thoughts on Coldplay concerts, collusion. We're off to a great start today.
Does anybody have an idea of what you could do at the Coldplay concert next week at the stadium to have a spoof on the meme?
Have a shirt that says, "This is my wife."
This is, like you put "is" in capitals. This is my wife.
615-737-1025. Coming up next, Our friends at the Nashville scene, every year, they have the You Are So Nashville If contest. It's one of my favorite things every year. The winners have been unveiled, and the winning entry has made me really sad about the state of the Tennessee Titans. And we will discuss that coming up next. 615-737-1025. Tune into ESPN 94.9 The Fan today as the Nashville Sounds take on Indianapolis. Pregame begins at 6:20 and the first pitch is at 6:35. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds Baseball on ESPN 94.9 The Fan is presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. D-Mace Fingan and Donick 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. David James just entered the studio showing us a new Coldplay meme saying it could be worse with a picture of Bobby Petrino post motorcycle accident. That is a good one.
One of the most iconic photos in SEC history.
I'm looking at it right now. Man, he really did a number on himself. He's got the neck brace on.
And he came back to Arkansas.
He did.
They brought him back
Who says
years later.
Who says you can't go home? Right, Bon Jovi?
And in between, he went to Western Kentucky. He is sitting right in the chair that you're sitting in right now, Adam, as he was unveiled as Western Kentucky's coach.
He was sitting in this chair?
That chair, not Derek Mason's chair. By the way, you stole D. Mason's chair. I'm going to tell him.
I have been stealing. I have been stealing Derek's chair this week. He's got the big cushy chair.
He's got a more comfortable chair.
I stole the chair.
But Bobby Petrino was sitting in that seat. And it felt just icky just to have him in the studio because it was post motorcycle. It was the guy still gets gigs. He still gets jobs. He went back to Arkansas.
Dustin in Hopkinsville says, imagine you get caught having an affair at a Coldplay concert by the Kiss Cam and you don't even kiss.
Yeah, fair.
That's fair.
Was it the Kiss Cam?
I don't know if it was
Was
a
it
Kiss
official
cam.
Kiss Cam or was it just popping around?
I think it was just popping around.
Yeah. That it is a question of what is worse, with wrecking the motorcycle and with the girl or in front of nobody initially, right? And then the whole aftermath getting exposed, or just having the one moment in the stadium where everybody sees you, pow.
There were some people who were trying to justify it by saying, I don't know if justify is the right word, but if they wouldn't have reacted that way, it wouldn't have gone viral. Well, somebody would have noticed if they had known these two people that they were with someone who wasn't their significant other. But anyway,
somebody would have texted somebody, but it probably wouldn't have gone viral.
Probably not. So I think it was this week, our friends at the Nashville scene unveiled their annual You Are So Nashville If contest winners. I love this.
What was the first year they did this? It's been well over 20.
I think it's been close to 40 years.
40 years, yeah.
I think it's been close to 40 years that the scene has been doing this. So here are some of the best sports-related entries. You Are So Nashville If you were going for a Will Levis joke but just couldn't hit the target. You Are So Nashville If you think the Predators' off-season spending could have subsidized the transit plan. You Are So Nashville If Vanderbilt football being the highlight of the Nashville sports world last year tells you just how bad things got. But the winner of this year's You Are So Nashville If contest, submitted by Allison Dermatowski, and Allison, if you're listening, I am so sorry if I butchered your last name. The winning submission was You Are So Nashville If you're on track to have more football stadiums than Super Bowl appearances.
It does bring up the question, getting to and from the game this year at Nissan Stadium and even the concert next week. I am curious.
But it got me thinking about...
There's a lot going on over there. I drive by it every day.
Yes, I as well.
There are some days you're like, is this street open today? I don't know.
We're going to try.
We're going to try.
It did get me thinking about the sad state of the Tennessee Titans. And I heard Robbie and Joe talking about this yesterday. And Willie, you and I had a conversation earlier this week about rebuilds in the NHL. And Daily Faceoff's data suggesting that the average rebuild takes 8.5 years. Now, the NFL is designed to rebuild quickly, certainly more quickly than the NHL.
There's no guaranteed contracts.
There are no guaranteed
There's no
contracts.
stashing people in a farm system.
Right.
So it's hard to protect a deep pool of players. And quite honestly, the depth pool is not nearly as deep. Right? It's hard to find players, really, when you get down to it.
Yes. But here is the question that Robbie and Joe asked. And I want to take a shot on answering this question as well. And I want all of you to as well at 615-737-1025. How much time are you willing to give the Titans to put a winning product on the field? Because it's been a sad state of affairs for the Tennessee Titans over the past couple of years. As we all know, things were going so well. They won, was it a Monday night game or a Thursday night game?
Thursday night
in Green Bay. Things were going so well. The Tennessee Titans that season, after that win, were, let me pull it up right here. They were, what was their record?
7-3.
They were 7-3. They then lost 7 consecutive games, missing the playoffs in the final week of the season. And the Tennessee Titans, since that 7-game losing
And
streak,
also in context for maybe people newer to town,
yes,
they were 7-3 coming off 12-5 division winner, number 1 seed,
yes.
11-5 division winner, 2019 wild card, but great run to the AFC Championship game. So this was the window.
Since that 7-game losing streak to end the 2022 season, the Tennessee Titans have won 9 games in 2.5 years. They are 9-32 over their past 41 games since that losing streak to end the 2022 season. Yes. That's enough Jared for today, David.
I'd threw a few of those out there.
That's enough. We'll hear him on Monday when he comes back from his 14th vacation of the summer. But I hear you laughing back there, David.
It's so good. I just love it.
Oh, boy. Anyway, so that's the question I had for all of you. How much time are you willing to give the Titans to put a winning product on the field? I think the most common answer we will receive, Willie, is 2027, when the new stadium is scheduled to be opened. That you hope that's the right year, right? I'm not mixing that up.
Yeah. It's going to take till 2027 with all likelihood. And that has been, I think that's a realistic target.
So I think that's going to be a popular answer, 2027, which means that we may have to sit through 2 more seasons of bad football. But how much time should we be willing to give the Titans, Willie, to put a winning product on the field? Because there hasn't been a winning product on the field over these past couple of years.
And it's interesting. You mentioned the rebuild in other sports, and we talked about the hockey, and it was a different definition than some would have of when you're in a rebuild. It almost counts years that you're not really in rebuild mode, but you're sliding down. And I think the Titans in 2022, sliding from 7-3 to 7-10, they certainly were not in rebuild mode. The next year at 6-11, they definitely were not in rebuild mode. They were trying to win, whether right or wrong, right? And this is what we're going to discuss, right? They were maybe in a little bit of denial. And then even last year, you could argue they were in denial of what they thought they can do. So even declaring that you're in a rebuild is something. We can look at the record and say, yeah, they've been rebuilding. They've been bad for 3 years. But that may not be, that was certainly not the mentality at the time. And in football, as we said, you can probably redo it quicker if you're lucky, if you're smart. Remember the Braves. Now this Braves team is crumbling right now with injuries and things like that. They've hit the skids after a successful rebuild that took 4 years, right? There were the Braves that we all knew for a long, long time. They had a 4-year down cycle, and then they've been really good since then, and includes a World Series championship. That was a successful rebuild, but it took 4 years of being bad. The article we just chronicled with Daily Faceoff and NHL rebuilds, they define their definition of rebuild can take 8.5 years on average. And even if being conservative, 5 to 6 years, that's a long time to wait. NFL, there's less patience. And Mike Vrabel used to say this all the time. It was a go-to line. You don't rebuild in the NFL. If you try to rebuild, you will get fired. And I do think that mentality exists in the league, which makes it tough.
One texter says, Jeremy in Clarksville says, y'all are worried about a winning team? How about we aim for watchable and go from there? That was Jeremy in Clarksville. Well, I would hope for watchable and winning football.
People are getting very snippy today.
Yes.
On the text line.
I know it's Friday, but come on, guys.
Snippety.
Keep
Cheer
the
up.
two down, guys. Come on.
Yeah, lose the
Tudinal.
tude.
Very tudinal.
Lose the tude, guys. But that's the question I have for all of you at 615-737-1025. How much time are you willing to give the Titans to put a winning or respectable product on the field? Watchable, respectable, winning product on the field. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, I found an article from 2021. So the references are outdated, but it still works today. The 7 phases of rebuilding in the NFL. And I want to go through these phases to see which one the Titans are in right now. 615-737-1025. Don't miss out on some of Nashville's best deals. Go to thegamenashville.com/deals now, and you can purchase half off on gift cards for Mellow Mushroom, Red's Hot Chicken, Staley Chicago Italian Dining, Single Tree Barbecue, 312 Pizza, Bad Axe Throwing, Brewster's, Barrio Burrito Bar, and many more. D-Mace Vingan and Donick 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Derek will join Jake Lyman on Stillman and Company today from 3 to 6. Chase and Big Joe back from SEC Media Days, but they will be on one more time from noon to 3. We will not have Ask D-Mace today, but we will have Ask Us Anything. It'll be me and Willie. And there will be a prize associated with Ask Us Anything. So that will happen.
We're going to bribe you into asking us anything.
Yes, we will bribe you. I am not afraid to say it. We will bribe you. We will bribe you. I don't know why I did that. Are we live? Crap. Anyway, we will bribe you with a prize for Ask Us Anything. That's coming up in the 10 o'clock hour. But talking about how much time are you willing to give the Titans to put a winning product on the field? And I stumbled across this story, Willie, written in 2021 by Mike Tanier in the New York Times. The 7 phases of rebuilding in the NFL. Again, it was written in 2021. The picture on the article is of Nick Foles in a Bears jersey. I have no recollection of Nick Foles playing for the Chicago Bears, but this tells you
it didn't go very well.
How long ago this story was written. But even 4 years later, a lot of the article remains valid today. So phase 1 of the 7 phases of rebuilding in the NFL, according to Mike Tanier, is denial. Quote, the first step is admitting that it's necessary. That can take several years because NFL franchises often kid themselves that the defense that led them to wild card glory in 2017 is still effective despite allowing 31 points per game, or that their legendary quarterback's shoulder doesn't creak like a rusty hinge when he attempts a screen pass. So are the Titans in denial? They have not come out and specifically said they are rebuilding. They are doing the draft, develop, and retain bit, which may be a workaround to actually saying the word rebuild. But do you think the Titans are currently in denial about rebuilding?
I don't, even though they have not, I think, done themselves a favor and declared it now. I think the denial was for sure last year. Last year was a full-on denial. The year before, at least you could say, you could reasonably argue that there might still be enough meat on the bone of Tannehill, Byard, and Henry for one more go to see if you could win a very weak division. I think you could probably make the case that should have been the denial year. They were in denial and just didn't know it. But last year was a full-on denial. But I think they're out of that. I think they know. I think they know. They know they have no choice now.
Right.
They have no choice.
Right.
They just finished 3-14. They're not. They're not in denial. They're not in denial anymore. They're in reality.
There are 2 things that are imperative to rebuilding quickly in the NFL, neither of which the Tennessee Titans have been able to do. Making prudent free agency moves and having productive drafts. The Titans have done neither of those things in recent years. We talked about this last week. Pro Football Focus put a number on how bad the Titans' first-round draft picks have been over the past 5 years, not including Cam Ward, because the exercise was done before this past draft. But you don't need a fancy algorithm to tell you how poorly the Titans have drafted, specifically in the first round over the past 5 years. But Willie,
but it's the whole draft too. It's not just the first round,
right? But
unfortunately for them,
but on the picks that they absolutely needed to nail, they have not over the past several years. Again, excluding Cam Ward because we don't know that yet. But the other thing is, again, the prudent free agency moves. And you have a passage from the FTN Football Almanac that puts that into perspective.
I do. So on the backdrop, and we will probably document it again next week, just how bad when you read through the names of the 20 through 22 drafts, which should be the core of your team now. The way for a team that is not rebuilding and trying to win, the players you draft 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 years before should be forming the core and the nucleus of your team. That's how you win in the NFL. It's not by free agency or trades. It's more than any other sport, the drafting and holding on to those players. And the 20 to 22 drafts, it wasn't just the first round picks who were horrendous. Isaiah Wilson, and Caleb Farley, Traylon Burks. But all the way down the list, they got nothing. And that wasn't Rand Carthon's fault. So how do you – the only alternative was to try to make up for it in free agency. So here's the passage from FTN Football Almanac. To say – this is from Rivers McCown wrote the essay on the team. But this really puts it in a good perspective here. To say that the 2024 Titans were not productive for the future of the franchise was an understatement. The free agent signings, Calvin Ridley, L'Jarius Sneed, who was a trade, right? But really it was you give up an asset, a third-round pick, to get a guy that you're going to pay big. Lloyd Cushenberry, Tyler Boyd, Tony Pollard, Chido Awuzie, and Kenneth Murray. 7 guys that they brought in. 6 free agents and a trade in Sneed. 1 had a mostly effective year in Pollard. And that is even a stretch. Pollard gave you a little bit better than average production as a tailback. And that's a huge drop-off from what you had before. Different type. Pollard's a solid pro. And he by far was the best. Calvin Ridley, maybe second among the group. But then we don't even need to go through all of them, right? But here's the thing. The free agent signings, as well as moving on from DeAndre Hopkins and Harold Landry, left the team with $36 million in dead cap space. And that was the cautionary tale. Because not only when you sign all those free agents, you have everybody, the narrative was what? Hey, they spent all that money in free agency. They should be competitive. And that's really, I was saying, that's not usually what happens in NFL free agency. And they got burned. So now the residual effect is you get a bill and it takes up more of your cap space, which I know Jared is still in denial that the cap is real, but that's $36 million you can't be spending elsewhere. And so we know about Sneed, right? We don't even know if and when he's going to play, and when he plays, is he going to even resemble the player that they thought they were trading for? Cushenberry, Achilles injury, I think, and he's 31. Or no, Cushenberry's not 31. I'm sorry. Cushenberry, though, when he plays, is still uncertain, right? They're preparing us for Corey Levin to be the starting center. And that's not a good sign for Cushenberry's recovery. It's going to probably take a good while for him to work his way back up to the player they thought they signed. And that's an if. It's not a given. And I like him. And then some of these guys aren't even on the team. Boyd is gone. Murray's gone. Wouzier's gone. So there's 3 guys you got 1 year out of and 1 bad year. So that is all of that money you spent on free agency.
There's a line in there that was like, the Titans talk about Sneed more like an idea than a player or something like that.
Yes. They said the Titans have resorted to talking about Sneed like he's an idea rather than a person. We're waiting for L'Jarius Sneed to show us he's the player he's been. You know, that's the idea. So you spell it out. You have, so now you have 3 players that are running up cap charges of $64.8 million this year, right? So Ridley entering to age 31, and he's not a great player. He's a decent player, but he's an expensive one. And then, of course, Sneed and Cushenberry, that's what you have left. That's expensive. And you don't know what you're getting from any of those guys, really.
When you look at a team like the Washington Commanders, they did both of those things. They made prudent free agency moves, and they had a productive draft, namely finding the quarterback in Jayden Daniels. And let's be honest, it largely comes down to the quarterback. If Cam Ward is what the Titans think he is, then the Titans will have a winning / respectable / watchable product on the field sooner rather than later. It really hinges on the quarterback. But the Titans over the past couple of years, they have not drafted well. They have not signed the right free agents. The personnel moves have been rough, to say the least. So that is a big reason why they are where they are. We will continue the 7 phases of rebuilding in the NFL as documented by the New York Times. Coming up next, 615-737-1025.
This is like therapeutic. What phase are we in?
Yes.
Let's talk about the phases.
Exactly. How much time are you willing to give the Titans to put a winning or respectable or watchable product on the field? 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, the game. D-Mace, Finnegan and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And we are presented by Bet365. Whenever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. We will have, in lieu of Ask D-Mace, Ask Us Anything, meaning me and Willie. There will be a prize associated with it. Wes in Clarksville says, Coldplay tickets? No, not Coldplay tickets. But it is a good prize. I think you'll enjoy it. So be listening later this hour for your cue to text in your questions for Ask Us Anything. But let's continue our discussion on the Titans. How much time are you willing to give them to put a winning or respectable or watchable product on the field? Let's continue our conversation about the 7 phases of rebuilding. The first phase, denial. And as Willie said, they were denying it. They now seem to be admitting that this is where they are as an organization.
Admitting it without coming out and
Overtly saying
making
it.
proclamations around
Right.
town. We are rebuilding. They're not doing that.
Right.
Which I think would be better off.
But
Tempering
draft, develop,
expectations.
retain. That's basically saying that you're rebuilding without saying you're rebuilding. Phase 2, transition. A proper rebuild would start with the simultaneous hiring of a new GM and head coach, who together search for a franchise quarterback. Unfortunately, a more typical rebuild starts with a new GM waiting 1 year before selecting his head coach, who spends 1 year evaluating a lame duck quarterback, who gets replaced by a rookie whose early career struggles cost the coach his job, with his successor spending 1 year sandbagging the GM so he can hire an ally. The result is a self-sustaining cyclone of conflicting leadership agendas.
Okay.
Well, Mike Borgonzi comes in. He didn't hire Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan working with Cam Ward. If it doesn't go well, would we be shocked if Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker moved on from Brian Callahan, continuing this self-sustaining cyclone of conflicting leadership agendas?
You know, it depends on when you even start. Like, there's been a couple of transitions in, if you're really getting down to all of the brass tacks, right? You could say that the Robinson firing was the first transition. And then they transitioned to Carthon and transitioned to Borgonzi, right? So, yes. So they've covered this thoroughly, right? Maybe more than once, the transition.
Yes. Phase 3, preparation. A franchise needs salary cap space and extra draft picks to overhaul its roster. So many rebuilds start with an estate auction in which veterans are traded to contenders for future draft picks. Now, one thing the Titans could have done to accumulate future draft picks is made that reported trade with the New York Giants on draft day. I've never seen Willie angrier than I did the day after the draft.
I gotta stand by it. I still think that would have been a better way to get a great roster. And look, it is all going to be all right if Cam Ward is what they hope he will be, but that's just it. They hope. I think and all of it has risks. I would have done the big move to take the Giants' first-round pick and bet on the Giants not being very good this year. But they did do some of it. They traded Kevin Byard. They traded DeAndre Hopkins. You know, they've done some things to try to grab draft picks back. They have done some of that. It's not getting them the premier picks that they're looking for, which they say they want. That's what their objective has been stated. They want a certain amount of top 100 picks, a dozen, I think, over the next 3 years. You're hard pressed to find that right now, but I think the preparation is going on to some degree.
This article, again, was written in 2021, so it's funny to read this in hindsight. The Philadelphia Eagles entered Phase 3 in February when they traded quarterback Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts. The Eagles will spend this year eating ramen noodles while paying down over $57 million in outstanding cap debts. But having multiple first-round picks next year could make the sacrifice worthwhile.
I'd say that's worked out pretty well.
I would say the Eagles have benefited.
And how did they do it? They've drafted really, really well. They got a second-round quarterback that's a really good quarterback, and they've made other smart moves, smart picks, and they've won a bunch.
The one thing that really hampers the Titans, Willie, and it goes back to the unproductive drafts that they've had in recent years, is that the Titans might not have a single star. Might be being generous. The Titans do not have a single star currently on a rookie contract. The Titans hope it's Cam Ward. I wouldn't put J.C. Latham in that category yet, or Peter Skoronsky, or Tavondre Sweat. But it certainly helps to have star players on rookie contracts.
No doubt.
Think of the Houston Texans and how they have been able to turn things around so quickly. Their starting quarterback and their premier pass rusher are on rookie contracts.
Yeah,
C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr.
I also always push back on they turned it around, quote, so quickly. They were bad for 3 straight years
True.
before they turned it around. People forget that, but they did amass a lot of draft capital, high picks, which is that's how they got Stroud and Anderson, right? They used a lot of the draft capital to get 2 high first-round picks in the same year, and they're both pretty good. So they were able, and of course there's special circumstances because they got a windfall for a guy they shouldn't have gotten nearly that much for, and Deshaun Watson, right? They fleeced the Browns. Deshaun Watson was already damaged goods for all the obvious reasons, and they still got a ton of money for that. Or draft capital. We got a couple extra first-round picks, 3 maybe?
Between the players they selected with those picks and the players they acquired by trading those picks, they completely overhauled their team.
Sure, and so the Titans aren't going to get that kind of thing. They don't have what they could have used was the first overall pick to get something like that, and they chose not to do it. They chose to take Ward, and so all the eggs are in that basket. But the Texans are an interesting study because they were really in the dregs for a while, especially with the Watson conundrum, and they were bailed out. But they were bad for 3 straight years.
Yes, they were 4-12 in 2020, 4-13 in 2021, and 3-13-1 in 2022 before back-to-back 10-7 wins, 10-7 seasons winning the division.
And let's not act like that's this unbelievable juggernaut that they've got right now, right? They've had back-to-back 10-7 years in a bad division.
How many teams do you think are actually rebuilding in the NFL? When we did that exercise with the Predators earlier this week, Daily Faceoff, I believe it was either 13 or 14 teams by Daily Faceoff's definition were rebuilding in the NHL. So nearly half the league. How many teams would you say are rebuilding right now in the NFL other than the Titans?
All right. I need to be looking at a list of the teams in order to do this right.
I'll give you some off the top of my head.
Titans.
The Titans.
Yes.
The Patriots.
I think yes. I think they think they might be coming out of it, but yeah.
The Panthers.
Yeah, I think hoping they're coming out of it, but yes, they are in the midst. They're not out of it yet.
Both the Giants and Jets.
No question.
So how many teams is that? 5?
There's 5.
Would you say the Jaguars are rebuilding?
Browns have to be considered rebuilding.
The
right? Saints.
Would you
Jags are an interesting one because they 2 years ago won the division.
Yes.
Or 3 years now, 3 years ago.
That would have been in 2022. When they took advantage of the Titans 7
The last 2 years have not gone well for the Jags. They did win that division.
They were 4-13 this past season.
Yeah. And then the year before they collapsed kind of like the Titans did the year before.
Yes.
So is it a rebuild for the Jags? I don't know. Kind of. They changed coaches and everything. But if it is a rebuild, it's a new rebuild off of 10 other rebuilds that they've done.
Yes.
They're perpetually rebuilding.
Yes. So
Colts?
Well,
there's another one that they stay somewhat competitive. They've not really dipped too low. They've had the odd bad year, but most years they're mediocre to good.
So Jeremy,
but right now that's a tough definition. I don't know if they would tell you they're rebuilding.
I just found a story from Jeremy Fowler that was written after
Raiders.
The Raiders could be one.
I think the Raiders are, right? They got to be considered rebuilt.
So now we're at about a quarter of the league. Jeremy Fowler wrote a story near the end of at the end of the NFL season, putting every team into tiers based on contending and rebuilding. He said, new coach, new direction. Jaguars at 4-13, Saints at 5-12. And again, this was back in February. Rebuild in the works, Panthers and Titans and Giants. And then in the still rebuilding category, Patriots and Jets. So he has what if we're doing the rebuild in the works or the still rebuilding, that's 5 teams. Carolina, Tennessee, both New York teams, and New England.
I think you could stretch it a little bit further. Another one to me that's interesting is the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
I think remember they changed GMs. Their GM is Monty Ossenfort, who was here for a long time, wanted to be the successor to John Robinson, didn't get the job, and then took the job at Arizona. He traded, he wheeled and dealed, did the deal with, I think did it with the Texans, right, for the Stroud pick. And so I think they feel like they're coming out of the rebuild. The worst is behind them. They're still trying to make it happen with Murray. Changed coaches recently. I would still say that they're trying to phase out of the rebuild. I think those teams that you're talking about are kind of like entering into you're trying to figure out where rock bottom is. There's a bunch of them that are hoping to have come out of rock bottom and now reemerge as somebody who could win 10 games at least. But so I think you could stretch it to at least 10 teams in the league.
It's a much different process.
It's a faster process. You have to turn it around quicker.
Yes.
You don't get 5 years. And it's not really accepted practice. That's the difference in the NHL that we talked about. It's sort of accepted practice that if you're going to do it in the NHL, it's going to take a while. But if you declare it, the owner and the fans will say, all right, at least it's worked for this team and that team and this team. So, okay, let's try it. And even in the NBA, I think it's more accepted practice that it's going to take a while. Football, it's
the process.
Not. Football, it's not.
Steven from Hendersonville says the Titans are the AFC's version of the Cardinals, completely irrelevant, mostly uncompetitive, and a country mile from being in the conversation. 2037, not 2027, is probably more realistic for the Titans to be competitive again. Boy, I hope not. And you think about playoff droughts in the NFL. The New York Jets are in a league of their own. I believe it's been 14 consecutive seasons without a playoff appearance for the New York Jets, which is tied with the Buffalo Sabres for the longest active postseason droughts in North American sports. I know for a fact that the Sabres drought is the longest in NHL history. It has been a decade and a half since the Buffalo Sabres have made the playoffs. But in the NFL, you don't see a lot of those long playoff droughts. I feel like there are a lot of teams that are in that 3-4 year range, but you don't see a lot of the 8, 9, 10, or in the case of the Jets, 14 or 15 consecutive years of missing the playoffs.
Well, it's certainly not tolerable, like it might be, like we just talked about in the hockey story, where the perception, because a higher percentage of teams make the playoffs in the NHL, right? There's more teams in than football. So you would think that there would be longer droughts in football because there's less teams that make it every year. So I don't know what the answer to your question is there. I'll bet you there's more droughts than you realize. But I think there's also that chance you get the odd year where things fall right. The ball, what was the Rankarthon?
The ball didn't bounce our way.
The ball didn't bounce our way. Sometimes the ball does bounce your way, and a mediocre team slides into the playoffs one year in the wild card, not that good, gets beat, and bounces, dips back down the following year. I think that happens a lot more in the NFL. Like the Bears, remember the one year, the double doink? Like they had a good team the one year with Mitch Trubisky as the quarterback. You look back at Mitch Trubisky, what a bust. There was one year where they had a great year. Yeah, and then they choked really in the playoff game. The guy missed the field goal that hit two uprights. Double doink. If he makes it, it's a really great year for the Bears. But that was like an oasis in this long desert of rough years.
The New York Jets have not appeared in a playoff game since the 2010 AFC Championship
Right.
game.
The Rex Ryan
Yes.
heyday.
So that was
The
14
Sanchez.
seasons. The Carolina Panthers and Atlanta Falcons have both missed the postseason each of the past 7 seasons. The Saints, Bears, and Colts have missed the postseason the last 4 years.
Those are the longest current streaks?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are the longest current streaks.
And remember, the Lions are just coming out of quite a long drought
Yes.
that now they have a good team. And so they've been back in the mix here for a couple years.
It certainly seems that Mike Borgonzi was far more, to use the word I've used earlier, prudent in terms of the players he brought in free agency. He spent a lot of money on Dan Moore, but you are going to pay money for a left tackle in free agency because left tackles don't grow on trees. But you hope by adding him and moving J.C. Latham to the right tackle position that the offensive line is more solidified, although the Lloyd Cushenberry aspect of it all is something that I feel like we're not talking about enough. Lloyd Cushenberry, I feel like, is a major X factor for this team this season, depending on when he can come back from the Achilles injury. He brings in Tyler Lockett. He brings in Van Jefferson.
What is the best case for those two guys too? I mean, you would love to see something, but
Borgonzi did not. I remember leading into free agency in the NHL last summer. I came on the show when I was not hosting the show, and I likened Barry Trotz to Regina George in Mean Girls, saying, "Get in, loser, we're going shopping." That was Rand Carthon with Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. And
right. They
Kenneth
went on
Murray.
a spending spree.
Right.
And because they felt like they didn't have a choice. And let's not overlook the fact that Chad Brinker was in on that decision.
Yes.
It's not like Chad Brinker wasn't there and didn't okay that. And Chad Brinker was on the record as saying, we don't want to do this every year, but they felt like they had no choice. And you know why? The owner also was not down with the let's break it all down and do a rebuild. She didn't want to. Her pride was at stake. She fired Mike Vrabel. They thought, hey, we'll be all right. We got Will Levis. Let's just get him some players. Go shopping. So they did jump in the car with the Mean Girls.
They did.
It wasn't well spent money.
No, it was not.
They overpaid, and we just documented the return on investment was next to nothing. It was a disaster.
So I appreciate the fact that Borgonzi did not go nuts spending a ton of money in free agency.
But also he didn't have that much of a choice because the money was dead. It's all been allocated to those other guys.
Yes. Hence the unfortunate cycle that
they couldn't even keep Harold Landry, who is still a pretty good player. That's another one that is a byproduct of all of the spending they did. It made him not cost effective. I'd rather have Harold Landry on the team. The Patriots have him.
The one thing that is clear about teams in the NFL who are stuck in these rebuilding cycles is that they can't get out of their own way. So you hope that Mike Borgonzi can help the Titans get out of their own way.
Yes.
Make prudent moves in free agency, draft productive players, and put them back on the right path towards being a winning team, a respectable team, a watchable team, whatever adjective you want to use. But
he's got hope that some scraps from the Rand Carthon 2 years, Skoronski, Sweat, Latham, maybe Tajay Spears, maybe, maybe Roger McCreary is worth another contract. You're just looking for little victories that just you can have one less thing you got to go plug because they have so many holes that they have to plug. It's impossible to do it in 1 year, which is the definition of a rebuild.
615-737-1025. We will take your thoughts on the Tennessee Titans rookies and veterans report to training camp on Tuesday. First practice, I would assume, is on Wednesday. So we will be in full training camp mode starting next week. 615-737-1025. Okay. No Derek today on our show. He'll be on with Jake Lyman later from 3 to 6, filling in for Jared. But we are going to turn Ask D-Mace into Ask Adam and Willie. Ask us anything. 615-737-1025. And I told you that we would have a prize to bribe you. I'm not afraid to say it. To bribe you to participate. The best question for Willie and I, actually the best question for Willie and me. I'm ashamed of myself for having that wrong grammar there. The best question for Willie and me will win a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splashing Safari and beautiful, scenic Santa Claus, Indiana. A pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splashing Safari for the texter who asks us the best question on Ask Us Anything, 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, the game. D Mace Vingan and Donick 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. Now, usually on Fridays, we have asked D Mace, but D Mace isn't here with us today. He'll be on with Jake Lyman from 3 to 6, filling in for Jared. But we are going to turn Ask D Mace into Ask Adam and Willie at 615-737-1025. Now, neither of us had illustrious all-pro NFL careers. Neither of us are being inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame tomorrow, but Willie is the best baseball/basketball player that Vanderbilt University has ever seen.
If you say so. I don't know if that's true.
I am saying so.
Okay, good.
And
I'll go with it.
I'm here. So 615-737-1025. The best question as chosen by Willie and me. I was so disappointed in myself when they said Willie and I before the break. That is improper grammar. The best question to Willie and me will win a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splashing Safari and beautiful, scenic Santa Claus, Indiana. The cool splash of fun your family needs is at Holiday World and Splashing Safari. Enjoy free soft drinks and free parking, too. Less than 3 hours away. Get tickets at holidayworld.com, but you won't need to go to holidayworld.com because we will give you those tickets if you ask us a good question. So let's start with our friend Nate from Columbia on our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Nate, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
What's up, guys?
How are you?
It's okay. Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. How are y'all?
Not bad. Not bad.
No, it's okay, Adam. We don't know no grammar down here in the South. But guys, August is the time for ESPN 8, the Ocho.
It is.
If y'all could choose a sport, which one would you play of the obscure sports with the Ocho? And which Ocho sport would you think you would succeed at the most?
Okay. Thank you for the call, Nate. So I need to look up what the ESPN
qualifies?
Ocho sports are.
Is cornhole still in there? Or
I think so. I think cornhole, ping pong, stuff like that.
Okay. So
Obscure sport
I
like
found
Ping pong is pretty serious, man. You
no,
you
it
gotta
does.
bring it.
Oh, I think tag's also in it. Extreme tag is a
Okay, now that
Ocho.
sounds like an Ocho for sure.
Okay.
Is
So
dodgeball should be on there, right?
Remember the 5 Ds of dodgeball.
The father, yeah.
I have found a story from
That's where we
August
come up
of
with the term.
2023. 8 weirdest the Ocho sports explained. The mullet championships. I think I'm out of the mullet championships.
I will not qualify. Although the bald guy with
No
the
one on
mullet,
this show can qualify for
the
the
bald guy with the
championship.
mullet is a thing.
Also known as the skullet.
Yes.
There's tech ball.
I
with
was
a
accused
Q.
of having a skullet by Jordan Tutu once on the radio one time. But it wasn't a mullet kind of thing. It was just I just had gotten a low cut with the baldingness, and he just took one look at it and he said, "I like that skullet."
There's tech ball with a Q. Picture a fusion of soccer and table tennis. That, in essence, is tech
Wow.
ball, featuring a specially curved table. The sport can be played both 1-on-1 or 2-on-2. It involves players rallying a soccer ball back and forth over a net using any part of their bodies but their hands and arms.
So a little bit like the hockey soccer game, but a little higher tech.
I will
2-on-2.
I will tell you, Nate, the sport I would win. The XL World Championship. For every spreadsheet wizard in the office out there, this is the sport for you. Featuring a knockout-style bracket, the XL Championships pit the best of the best on Microsoft's staple work program against each other, each vying to be the quickest to complete a variety of XL-related tasks.
That's you.
That's me.
That
Spreadsheets,
says
baby.
Adam Vingan to me. Okay. I think I'll go with cornhole. I think I'm a pretty good cornhole player. I think I can play.
Okay. Good
Pretty
to
good.
know. Let's
But
go to
it's there's some high end cornhole going on out there.
Now, I know my way around an Excel spreadsheet, although I have a Mac, so it's numbers. But I know my way around an Excel spreadsheet. So sign me up for the XL World Championships. I think I could.
Gotcha.
I think I could challenge for that. Let's go to Matt on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Matt, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How are you?
Good. My question's in regards to the Titans. who do you feel, if any, is going to be the most surprising Week 1 starter? I think Gunnar Helm's going to separate himself in the tight end position and finally give us some good production. I think he'll be a Week 1 starter.
Good question, Matt. Thank you for the call. The most surprising Week 1 starter for the Tennessee Titans.
That would be a pleasant surprise. If either him or the 4th round wide receivers got in there, I would love to see that because they desperately need it. I do think that that's the area of the roster where there's space. It's the land of opportunity. The skill players for the Titans outside of Calvin Ridley, it's wide open. If you're good, you're gonna fly up that chart. New quarterback, maybe a better offensive line. The running backs are sort of set. I think that's as good a guess as anybody. So I like Helm. Maybe the kid from Stanford I hear good things
Iamander.
about. Yeah. So maybe I'd lean that way.
Yeah, I think I would go with Iamander, but I don't know if that would be a
The
surprise.
other thing you can cheat, like with wide receivers, who starts, like what formation are you in on the first play of the game? Like I don't know how they deem sometimes who the starter is, but the packages, like there's a pretty good chance that one of those guys will be in a starting package.
That's true. What about James Williams at inside linebacker? Would that be a surprise?
Sure.
The Titans inside linebacking.
They need some
group.
good surprises.
Yes.
They need some good surprises.
Here's a question. Which group is worse? The Tennessee Titans inside linebacking group or the Predator center group?
The Predators at center without Colton Sissons, not that Colton Sissons was any great shakes, but you knew what you had. And so you could sit there and at least say at your 3rd and 4th line center utility that you've got solid pros there. Now without him, like there's nobody. They need to they have to address that, I feel, between now and the start of the training camp, or they're going to have somebody very, very young there. So I think the biggest question mark, and the Titans inside guys, I don't know. It's the inside linebacker guy. That's not the importance of a center in hockey. Like the center question in hockey is a major, major question.
Yes.
The inside linebacker spots on a 3-4 defense, that's not as important a position. It's usually fairly replaceable. And in the context of what they're trying to do this year, it's not a huge thing. So I will go with the Predators.
Let's go to Jay on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jay, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my question, I agree with Willie, first of all. We should have traded the first-round pick and got multiple picks. But I also was wondering during the draft why we didn't trade Will Levis to get more picks, whatever we could have got from him. And I do believe that Will is a carbon copy of Ryan Tannehill. I think that he could be a really good quarterback in a certain system that fits him well. But with that being said, he can't do nothing. Couldn't any quarterback do anything with the offensive line that we had? So I think we should have got more picks and went for more offensive linemen because that's where it all starts.
Thank you for the call, Jay.
It would surprise me if they didn't at least take a look and see what was out there. My conclusion without knowing is that he had no trade value. Nobody was willing to trade for him. I think if they were to cut him, somebody would pick him up. But I think people are stopping short of trading an asset for them. That might change if there are injuries during training camp. And I think we just need to be ready for that question coming up in the weeks of training camp is what do they do at backup quarterback? Do they just end up keeping Levis, who is very cheap? And so it's not a salary cap issue. It's just, do they want him around? And are they willing to just throw him on the street? How long are they willing to wait to see if somebody trades for him?
I am adamant that the Tennessee Titans will trade Will Levis by the end of training camp, similar to what we saw last year with Malik Willis. That was at the end of August. I believe it was my son's birthday. because I remember getting out of the pool. We were having a pool day, and I saw Twitter that the Titans had traded Malik Willis, so I know it was at the end of August. So it would not shock me if Will Levis is no longer a member of this team by Labor Day. I think.
So a 7th-round pick, similar to Willis, is what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, what did Sam Howell go for in the draft? That was a late round pick swap, right?
That was a swap, though, right? Or was it? Did they get
The
a straight-up
Seahawks
pick?
traded Sam Howell to the Vikings. The Vikings traded a 5th-round pick for Howell and another 5th-round pick. They moved down in the 5th round.
So it really wasn't a pick. They just moved up they just moved slots, right?
I don't think you're
It's not
getting
much.
I don't think you're getting more than a 6th or 7th. You can't get more than that.
Yeah. It's different, though, if a team is really behind the 8 ball with injuries at quarterback. True.
Yes.
That's when you might be willing to give up something that you wouldn't have done in the offseason. That's what the Titans have to hope. The question is, what will it look like? I don't know how much they're going to play Cam Ward in the games, but it's not out of the question that Levis, who on a particular play can look really good, right? He can throw a pass that has you going,
yes.
pretty good. And if you're recalibrating, which is hard to do in this market, but if you're recalibrating that all this guy needs to be is your backup, there could be some momentum of, hey, let's just keep him around as the backup. He's cheap.
615-737-1025. We will continue.
Okay. As we go into the break.
Yes.
I just want to throw one question back at the audience. I need some help.
Okay.
Have you ever set a mousetrap? I need some tips.
Okay.
I need some pointers. Hit me up. 615-737-1025. Shoot me the text. I purchased a couple of mouse traps because I got a mouse. It's not a big problem, but I know he's there. I don't want to be cruel or anything, but what do we recommend here?
Okay.
Tips that we need to know for a mouse trap. Adam, have you ever set a mouse trap?
Only in the board game, also named Mousetrap.
I'm impressed that you played Mousetrap.
So
I thought you were from the generation of just video games only.
Well, I do love my video games. So if you need a Rube Goldberg machine type Mousetrap, I can help you out there based on my experience playing Mousetrap. But an actual Mousetrap, I have never set an actual Mousetrap.
Do you have any skills in this area?
I have little skills.
I have my note. I have my
definitely
notepad. I'm ready for just a couple little pointers. I just want to make sure this is effective.
Okay, so help Willie out. 615-737-1025. We will continue Ask Us Anything coming up next. Remember, the best question for Willie and me will receive a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Santa Claus, Indiana. Less than 3 hours away from Nashville. You can win a pair of tickets to Holiday World and Splash and Safari by asking us the best question on our phone or text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025. This isn't just a concert, it's a cause. Trying Tix's Rock the Cradle helps give fragile newborns a stronger start and keeps moms close when it matters most. With Tim McGraw live on stage and your support behind every beat, Ascension St. Thomas is turning music into healing. Tickets are on sale now at rockthecradlenashville.org. D. Mace Finnegan and Donick 1025, 1063 the game. Willie, you solicited advice for setting mousetraps, and our listeners heeded your call.
Oh man, I've gotten some notes.
A
I'm ready
ton.
to write.
A ton.
Oh, we didn't even let the song play out.
Oh,
to
I'm
say,
sorry.
hey kid,
I'm
this
sorry.
song is not about me, and neither is Willie D from Willie Dynamite. It's not about me, but it is stuck.
One texter who says they work in pest control
Oh, this is really important.
says to put your bait, peanut butter in parentheses, on your traps. A lot of mentions of peanut butter. What happened to cheese? I thought that was the whole thing. I've watched enough cartoons. I thought it was cheese, but a lot of people said peanut butter.
That I would love a good astute answer to that question, because I was picturing as I was buying these traps to get some cheese. What cheese am I going to use?
So the texter who works in pest control says, put your bait, peanut butter, on your traps, but don't set them yet. Let the mice eat it, then rebait and set them. They won't be scared of the traps.
So a patient, long-range approach.
There are some incredibly detailed suggestions on our text line.
This is great.
Al has a great suggestion. He says, Willie, regarding the mouse question, purchase a few snakes, preferably black racers, and let them loose. You will not see any mice in or outside your house. If that doesn't work, set out green Gatorade for them to drink.
Nice. I just did purchase some Gatorade this morning at the same time that I purchased these traps, but it was blue Gatorade today.
Ah, okay. One texter says, John in Nashville says, just get a cat.
You know, this is part of the reason we have a mouse down there is our dog has now been transitioning to more of an inside dog. It's so hot outside, and our cat spends way more time upstairs now, so he's not down there. He usually does patrol the area, but I feel like it's not a coincidence that the mouse is a little more confident these days. But I'm going to get him. I'm going to report back on this.
The texter, who said they work in pest control, says that peanut butter has a smell to it. Most cheeses don't. That's why peanut butter.
Okay. Peanut butter it is.
So all of the Tom and Jerry cartoons I
know.
watched are a lie?
I know. I was shocked too when I first heard about this.
What?
Yeah.
I got to have a talk.
Maybe
the
it
creator
was just
Tom and Jerry. We
maybe
need
it
to
was
have a
just
talk.
Jerry that liked the cheese, not mice in general.
I have a bone to pick with you, Hanna-Barbera. You made me think one thing for so long. I guess it's easier to draw cheese than peanut butter, I suppose.
I have my other side question here is that I got the traps that not the old fashioned ones that snap, you know, that you see in all the cartoons. I got the ones where their feet get stuck to the trap. Is that an effective trap?
Yeah,
Or do I
that's
need
a
to
good
get
one. That's a
different
good one. I don't just because it's.
I didn't have confidence that I could set the ones that snap.
Yeah. Well, the ones you snap.
Old
If it was
school.
the ones you snap, I was like gonna be like, better
It
watch
looked
your
kind of
fingers.
flimsy. It also looked kind of flimsy. The ones that were available. I feel like the glue kind will get the job done. But
Yeah.
if I could get that verified, or if there's another kind of trap that I need to look at, then I'm open arms to that too.
Let's go to Wes from Hermitage on our
All
phone
right.
line, driven by Wilson County Hunting.com. One of the many Wes's who calls or texts our show. Hello, Wes. Go ahead.
What's up, guys? This is a very special day for me. I get 2 dad jokes on 2 different shows. Is that not just like the coolest Friday ever?
That is true. You can call Stillman and Company with Derek at 3 o'clock and get another dad joke in there. So good for you.
Man, y'all are both parents, so y'all will understand. My daughter's 11, and this is probably her favorite thing that I do every week. And every Friday that I miss doing a dad joke, I don't ever hear the end of it. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one, man. When should you stop at green but go at red?
When should you stop at green but go in red? I don't know. You tell me.
When eating a watermelon.
Fair.
Well, you know what, Wes? I'm not a huge watermelon fan, so that
What?
one didn't
But
land
you
with
understand.
me.
You understand.
I do understand the joke, but I'm not a huge watermelon fan.
That's sad. If you live in Nashville, you got to be a watermelon fan, man.
I suppose. Do you have a question,
my
or do you just want a
question
dad
for you
joke? Okay,
guys-
go ahead.
Yeah, my question for you guys is this, because I just heard y'all talking about it. So I've got to ask, this team is currently being built around Cam Ward, right?
Yes.
So if you were Cam Ward and this was your team and this was your rookie season, would you want Levis on this roster?
Thank you for the call, Wes.
I guess I would throw back. How would you know one way or the other? You know, like what would be wrong necessarily? Don't you have to at least see how it plays out in the training camp? I certainly get the argument that it might be time for a new fresh start for him and for the team. And you have Brandon Allen. You went and took the trouble to go get him, plus another veteran quarterback. I don't know when that guy's going to get reps. Is that guy going to be allowed in the field, Boyle? I don't know how that's going to work. But it does seem like it's just something that's going to have to play out while Ward presumably gets all the starters reps. But how would it affect Ward? Like what would be the negative?
I don't see it affecting Cam Ward back in May, which is just crazy to say.
If it does, that doesn't reflect well on Ward.
Back in May, when we were at the golf course for our charity golf tournament, Derek and I were talking about this because that's when we heard from Will Levis for the first time since the Titans drafted Cam Ward. And he put on a brave face and answered questions about the situation. And I said to Derek, I think you've got to trade Levis because he's going to become a distraction. And I don't mean that I don't mean that by Will Levis is going to stomp and pout and cause a rift in the locker room, that sort of distraction. But if Cam Ward struggles at any point, the Will Levis whispers may start creeping back in again, despite the fact that Will Levis had a bad season last season. So I thought it would be best for everybody in that case for the Titans to move on from Will Levis, but it takes someone desperate enough to take Will Levis. And we'll see if a quarterback goes down because of injury in training camp. It tends to happen, right? Injuries happen in training camp. So
the distraction part, though, is controllable from a couple different sources. If Levis takes the right approach, low profile, if the team keeps him in the backdrop more, media-wise, that would be smart. If Ward handles it well, if he doesn't get self-conscious, and if he's really worried about Will Levis after being the first pick in the draft, then that probably doesn't reflect well on Ward. I don't think it has to be a distraction.
I don't think it will be a distraction for Ward. I just think that if he struggles, there will be fans, the same fans who dislike Will Levis, calling for Will Levis to take over.
In a short term, you mean?
Yes.
Wait until the kid's ready. Let's not throw him out there too quick.
So
that would be the one scenario that I think could be sticky if it came to that.
Last question from Alex in Nashville. If you were stuck in space for 2 years and could only pick one team to watch, which team are you choosing? No internet access. When that team is not playing, you can't watch anything else. I think this is a simple question and answer for Willie and me. Willie is wearing a New York Mets hat, so I imagine his choice would be the New York Mets.
Yeah, because you get more games. So you have 162 minimum baseball games.
That is true.
I love the announcing team. And so, yeah, I'd have to go with that. That's going to fill more nights. Like these last few nights have been tough, man. No baseball games.
But baseball's back today, right?
It's back.
Okay.
1:20 p.m. Red Sox with a 10-game winning streak against the Cubs at Wrigley.
Okay.
And then a full slate of night games.
Mine would be Duke, obviously. By the way, Duke playing Tennessee in Knoxville in an exhibition game in October. Road trip. Can we do the show from Knoxville that day?
Let's look into that. Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Or at least you can. I don't know if I can make it over there, but
we can make a.
I've done shows from Winnipeg and Vancouver. Like just take the stuff, man. Do it.
We can make
you need to experience the Thompson Bowling Arena.
I have never been to.
I have played and scored hoops in Thompson.
You
Bowling
have?
Arena. Oh yeah.
What's the best basket you ever scored in that building? The
In
most
that
impressive
building?
basket.
Oh man, there aren't that many. But there were a couple. We lost the game, unfortunately. We did not win. We always beat them at Memorial Gym. I scored in those games as well. But Thompson Bowling, Have you ever been to Dean Smith?
I have been to the Dean Dome.
It's
yes.
almost exactly architecturally the same.
Mhm.
It looks very, very similar to
So
to
ugly?
the Dean Dome. Yes. And you know what? Honestly, for many, many years, it was too big for what they needed on a nightly. So they had curtains that would come down for the upper deck. And since they've done better, they've needed those seats a lot more in recent years when the program has come back up. But you should go. You should absolutely do this. Let's make this happen.
Let's do it.
We know people. We can get you in there. Just don't go full on, with your did you purchase the Mavs jersey?
I have not yet purchased my Cooper
The
flag
Cooper flag jersey?
jersey or T-shirt yet.
You might just go low profile just for
Yes.
your own, just look down the middle. You know how the media look is. Just look
Yes.
media-ish. And then privately you can, slip back into the stands and find the student section.
I mean, to be fair, I do have a Durham-inspired tattoo on my leg. I'll have to wear pants to the game so as not to show it off. I am a professional after all. Not every arena can be Cameron Indoor Stadium, obviously. By the way, in a couple of weeks, we will be headed to the Vingan family. We'll be headed to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And on the way, I think we're going to make a pit stop in Durham so that Arlo can see Cameron Indoor Stadium for the first time.
That is cool.
Yes.
All right. Now we're talking. It's a hoop fan right here. We're going to make this happen.
His grandfather will be quite pleased to see that picture.
Ha ha.
615-737-1025. We will confer on the winner of the Holiday World tickets. We will be in touch. 615-737-1025. But you know what? There are a lot of good sports questions. By the way, a lot of good mousetrap suggestions.
I am ready for my plan. I'm ready.
Don't use the sticky
So
traps.
nobody.
Don't use the sticky traps, people are saying, because
Don't
it's cruel.
use them.
It's cruel.
Cruel.
Yes. We'll discuss on the other side.
What?
615-737-1025.
But I love animals, but you're coming into the house. I can't help you. I got to get you out of there.
We'll get back to this.
Okay.
615-737-1025. Hey, if you missed out on the Holiday World tickets, you can text 615-737-1025 right now because the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix is coming to Nashville Superspeedway Labor Day weekend, and you have a chance to win VIP tickets by texting in the keyword RACE, RACE, 615-737-1025. For more information on the event, visit musiccitygp.com. D. Mace Van Gendonic, 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And we are presented by Bet365. Whenever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. One more day without Derek. Derek will be on with Jake Lyman from 3 to 6, filling in for Jared, who is taking his 14th vacation this month. But Jared will be back in full force on Monday. We will be back at 11 a.m. in full force on Monday. Titans report to training camp on Tuesday. Football season is here. Thank goodness we've made it through the rain. Is that a Barry Manilow song?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, you were surprised by the references that I'm able to
I'm
pull.
amazed. I'm amazed every day. Like, that's 70s. That's not even 80s. You were born at the tail end of the 80s.
I was.
Which gives you a little bit of reference there. But the 70s, that's even more impressive.
I mean, I am a.
And now, thank you for getting that song stuck in my head the rest of the day.
I am a voracious reader, but I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read books until the summertime. So usually, what I do is I find 3 or 4 books, and then I buy them all at once. And then I read them over the course of the summer. When I'm on vacation in a couple of weeks, I will. And one of the books I purchased was Hollywood High, a totally epic, way opinionated history of teen movies by Bruce Handy, a former Vanity Fair writer and editor, or maybe a current Vanity Fair writer and editor.
Is he related to Jack Handy, the Deep Thoughts from SNL?
I am unfamiliar, but I'm looking at the cover of this book. I see Alicia Silverstone. I see Sean Penn. I see
Sean Penn.
I see Molly Ringwald. Yeah, as
Bad Boys.
No, from
Jeff Spicoli.
Jeff Spicoli. Yeah,
I'm not sure he was actually a teenager. How old was he in that movie? He was playing a teenager, obviously.
Right. I mean, how old are any of them? None of them are actually teenagers.
They take liberties with those. But the point is, I'm interested. You have me hooked into.
I'll let you borrow my copy when
this
I'm done reading
This is an actual book, though. I have to read.
It is.
Yeah.
It is an actual book. Reading is fun.
I must admit, I'm not reading as many books as I did.
Reading is fun.
I read a lot, just not books.
I mean, I learned at a young age. Arthur the Aardvark taught me having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. I'm just saying. By the way, Josh on our text line says, when is it proper to use "and I"? Please explain, Smarty Pants.
Okay, we're gonna get the speech for all of our listeners that I got in our break room during the break, because Adam was upset with himself that he had made a grammatical error.
That I said the best question for Willie and I, which incorrect,
I would have said,
which is incorrect. So here's the rule of thumb when you're using "and I" versus "and me." Remove the other person from the sentence. So the best question for Willie and I, the best question for I, that doesn't make any sense. The best question for me, that makes sense. Hence, the best question for Willie and me. So take the other person out of it and put in either I or me, and whichever one sounds right is the one that you use.
All right.
So there you go. There's your grammatical lesson for the day, Josh. That is very true. Thank you, Homer. That is very true. So I'm trying to find. There were a lot of really good questions. A lot of questions on the mousetrap. A lot of suggestions on the mousetrap. A lot of people have suggested, Willie, that you don't use the sticky traps because they're cruel.
I know, and some people provided detail. I had not thought about that.
Yes, I'm still shaken by the fact that you don't leave out cheese. Again, I watched how many Tom and Jerry cartoons in my life, but then one texter said, "How many times did Jerry get caught?" That's true.
Jerry, fair point.
I don't know that Jerry ever got caught.
Yeah.
I also remember at one point, after a certain amount of time, Tom and Jerry became friends, like in the cartoons. They were like a team. They were adversarial, the classic cat versus mouse, and Tom would get outsmarted on a
normally. Yeah.
Maybe that's why they joined up and became friends.
But then they became
remember
back to
this?
enemies.
Like, Tom and Jerry were around for a long time. The older ones are definitely the classic cat versus mouse. Then they became like a team.
I prefer Itchy and Scratchy to Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, it's a little later.
Yes. Brian on our text line has a Predators rebuild question. If the Predators go into rebuild mode after this season, will they embrace it in such a way that keeps fans involved? Example, in addition to the Preds Beer Fest, can we expect a Bourbon Fest, a Whiskey Fest, a Moonshine Fest, a Tequila Fest, a fashion show like the Charlestown Chiefs, a Preds Lingerie Expo, a
Whoa.
Tattoo Fest, etc.? Have to embrace the suck.
Okay. Honestly, if they do go into a rebuild mode, which by definition in the Daily Faceoff, if they were to have another
If they
poor
finish
year,
in the bottom 10 again this season,
which could happen,
that will start a rebuild.
that would put them technically in this definition, whether they say they are or not.
Correct.
What I would say though is they've already built the foundation. Where is Pittsburgh right now? Pittsburgh is entering into this. They are the one team that I think is more or less declared. They are, which brings up the question: Will Sidney Crosby be traded at some point? It's a huge question that we're not going to answer today.
That is a popular question.
But with the way they're going with Crosby, they're already trying to shop around Erik Karlsson, who's still good, but he's paid a lot of money. Like that core, they just can't win with that core. They know it. They've also traded over the years so many draft picks that they don't have a great farm system. They're trying to rebuild their farm system now. The thing that the Predators have going for them is that they've already built layers of a farm system that look, there's no guarantee that the farm system turns into what you want it to be at the NHL level, but they're giving themselves every chance with all of these picks that they've accumulated over the last few years, right? So in theory, that would set them further ahead in a rebuild than sliding down, like what the Islanders are facing right now. Now, they just won the lottery, which is going to help them. So they got the first overall pick. So maybe that's not the best example, but you see what I'm saying. Sometimes there's a longer slide down, and it takes even longer to build back up because you've completely eradicated your farm system to try to win in the moment. The Predators have already started that process 2 or 3 years ago, accumulating picks. And even before that, David Poile did hang on to his draft picks. They picked in 2020, like Askarov and guys like that. They didn't trade those picks. They have LaRue. They have Svechkov. That's going back to when the team was even making the playoffs.
We had a caller the other day when we were discussing this topic. He said, my son is not going to sign up for 8.5 years of bad hockey.
Yeah.
But also mentioned the Predators need to do stuff that's worth our while to make us come to the games if they're going to be bad.
So the lingerie night that he's talking about, maybe that's what he's I'm joking, but
Yes.
But that is the business part of it.
Right.
Is how do you string together all those years where you're just telling the fans, be patient. We're picking first, we're picking second. I am really curious in a market like Chicago how long they're able to sustain. They've done a pretty good job sustaining, I think, a pretty decent game night atmosphere. They whipped the Predators. The Predators had won a ton of games in Chicago over the last few years. They finally got beat. It was the first time that the Blackhawks had beaten the Predators at the United Center in a while. And it was an ugly game, but it was late in the season. Both teams were woefully out of it. They had a pretty good crowd. So it's not like when I first started going on the road with the team in the mid-2000s and the Blackhawks, that's a really big place, the United Center. It's a great place. But man, was it empty back then. Before the days of Kane and Taves, they didn't televise the games. They had poor ownership. That was brutal. So right now they're still living off of the dynasty, however many years it's been now, and they're not out of it anytime soon. But they've been able to hang in there with their crowds. And I don't know, I'm not sure how they're doing that, especially remember there was that whole scandal that hit them as well that has not, had all their fans staying away from that building. They've done a pretty reasonable job of people still coming to the games.
The question is Nashville the type of city that can endure a lengthy rebuild? We were talking about the Titans earlier in the show. The Predators, again, when we went through this exercise on Daily Faceoff, the Predators, by the definition laid out by the author of the story, the Predators have never rebuilt in the salary cap era. And I am curious if we are the type of city that can still support a team if things don't go well for several years. Now, to Predators fans' credit, The games I attended last season at home, obviously, Willie, you attended nearly all of them, if not all of them. The crowds were still good. The crowds were still invested.
I was impressed.
So it's one thing if it's, hey, it was a down year, we still love our team, we're going to come out and support them. But if what we saw last season continues for the next couple of years, or maybe they're not as bad as they were last year, but they're still out of the playoff picture. How long can that be sustained? That interest. I mean, that's a question that all markets, all teams have to ask themselves during down periods in their trajectory. But the Predators specifically really haven't had the type of season we saw last season, except in the very early days of the franchise.
Right, and that was really not a rebuild. That was the early build, and it had to be slow because the way the rules were, there was no other way to do it. But yeah, I think sometimes the fan base here, they can't know what the rebuild would be like. It's hard to really fathom let's just say 5 years on the shorter end of the 8.5 years that this study did that it takes. 8.5 years, that's unbelievably long. You hope it wouldn't take that long. But even 4 or 5 years, that's something that no Predator fan can say that they've endured, right? They've never gone that far. Yeah, there's been frustration of losing in the first round of the playoffs and all that, but that's still making it to the playoffs is still fun and has you walking out of that building with great moments and successes, and we shouldn't take that for granted. When you go through a full rebuild and at the start of the season you're probably not going to make the playoffs or even be close, that's something that no Predators fan can really fathom because you haven't been through it. Just like when people talk about UC Saros oh man, UC Saros is making a lot of money. Oh man, he's not that good. It's in the perspective of a Predator fan. You've never seen what it's like to have bad goaltending. So UC Saros, to me, gets taken for granted on how good he has been. Oh, he hasn't won in the playoffs. Look at how many teams would do anything to have a goalie like UC Saros or Pekka Rinne or Chris Mason, Thomas Vokoun. They've always had really good goalies for 25 years. They've never gone through a long stretch where they can't find the goalie. So these are the things that are unique to Nashville, but I think it's a really good question of could they do it? Well, our city's bigger, right? The city has grown so much in the last 10, 12 years, and it's not going to shrink anytime soon. You have more people that could fill the seats, but I think you would pay a price for sure.
Why don't we ask that question to all of you at 615-737-1025? How accepting do you think Nashville as a city would be to a lengthy rebuild, whether it's the Predators or the Titans? Is our city a strong enough sports city that fans will stick it through with their teams through the hard times if it ultimately leads back to something much better?
And so let's talk about the Titans and their history. They've had some rebuilds that they have endured, correct? The post Derek Mason, Steve McNair, Eddie George Titans. That was a rebuild that lasted 3 full years of not being very good. And then for the next 2 years, they had some good, very good teams. So that was one rebuild, if you call that a rebuild, right? An NFL-style rebuild, 3 years, right? They did a pretty good job of getting through that. The franchise was still relatively new, and the stadium was in pretty good shape back then. Then there was I want to say, let's call it the post Jeff Fisher, right? That was a rebuild, and that was a little longer, right? 2010 through 20, but before Malarkey had the 1 year, 2010 through 2015, that was a pretty long drought.
The Titans missed the playoffs every season between 2009 and 2016.
Right. In 2009, you were coming off of
13-3
and a 1 seed. So that certainly wasn't that was a shockingly bad turn. And then for another year, maybe you thought you could get out of it. They didn't. Then Jeff Fisher was gone. and they hit the dregs for a while. They had the one odd season where Matt Hasselbeck was the quarterback, and they were 9-7, I think, surprisingly, but that really wasn't close to the playoffs. So that was a long drought. They got through it, but there were some Sundays where it was pretty easy to get a ticket, especially to that stadium. They didn't do a very good job of keeping the stadium up. The other team's fans really started to come in. They had a whole ticket thing where the ticket brokers, they were fudging on the numbers. So they paid a pretty big price during that time, the pre-Vrabel era.
615-737-1025. How accepting do you think our city, our wonderful city of Nashville, would be to a lengthy rebuild for either the Predators or the Titans? 615-737-1025. We will hit that on the other side. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, The Game.
All right, let's tell you about F&M Bank. And here's one feature that fits right in with their motto, banking made easy on purpose. They want to not have you shoulder so much of a load when you start thinking about your finances. Sometimes, maybe different stages of your life, myself included, you start thinking about your bank account and you get that icky feeling. That's what F&M Bank wants to alleviate for you. And they've got things like this, the Smart Swipe debit card, where every time, if you're looking to save some money, every time you use your debit card, they'll round up to the nearest dollar, and those extra cents, those extra quarters, dimes, pennies go into your savings account, and over time, you're going to build some savings. Simple tool, makes life easier over the long haul. They've got a lot of other ones like that. MyFMBank.com is where you find the website and find the nearest location to you. Check them out. And if you want to go with this, whether you're a business owner or whatever stage of life you're in your financial world, try F&M Bank. And we will do our Ticket to the Bank segment coming up every Friday at 1:45 when we get the full DVD team back together, and we're going to start doing our season predictions. We're going to have a lot of fun. Thanks to F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. MyFMBank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
D. Mace Vingan and Donick 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan here with you. We will take it to the bank coming up in a few minutes. I do also, before the show ends, I do want to pay tribute to our friend, our co-host, Derek Mason, as he enters the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame this weekend. And Derek will be on with Jake Lyman today from 3 to 6, filling in for Jared. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled time of 11 o'clock on Monday. Titans report for training camp on Tuesday. Get excited. So here's the question I have for all of you at 615-737-1025. How accepting do you think Nashville as a sports city would be if the Titans and Predators entered lengthy rebuild? Now, Willie, as we discussed earlier this week, at least according to Daily Faceoff, you could argue that the Predators have never rebuilt. They missed the playoffs their first 5 seasons, but again, they were an expansion franchise in the late 90s. They did not have the advantages that the Vegas Golden Knights did.
And there was no salary cap in a very small market.
Right. By my incredibly quick math, between 2004, when the Predators made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history, and 2024, when the Predators made the playoffs and lost in the first round to the Vancouver Canucks, the Predators missed the playoffs 4 times. 2009, 2013, 2014, and 2023. Now they have missed the playoffs 2 of the past 3 years. But the Predators have consistently been, depending on your definition of competitive, they have been a playoff team.
Right. And
for the
contrast
better
that,
part of 2 decades.
the Sabres haven't made the playoffs once in 14 years.
Right.
So before you give me well, everybody makes the playoffs. That's not true. There are at least, 8 or 10 teams that have gone at least the last 4 or 5 years without making the playoffs once in these rebuilds, these teams that are currently in the rebuild.
I just remember, and I'm sure all of you remember this too, back in 2017, when the Predators upset the Blackhawks in the first round of the playoffs, and the fans left Bridgestone Arena that night. They were jumping up and down on the smash car in the plaza of Bridgestone Arena, and those outdoor watch parties that started at the park across the street, they eventually took over the entire street, Broadway, filled to the gills for watch parties for the Stanley Cup final. All of you were wearing those Nash hats. Remember the Nash hats? Do people still wear those?
Nash or even Smash,
Yes, there was the Smash version, but also the Nash version.
right?
It was the hottest item, the hottest clothing item in Nashville.
I have one in my closet.
I did not have a Nash or a Smash hat. But I wondered, because I was covering the team at the time, I wondered, is this sustainable? Are the people who filled Broadway to cheer on the Predators in the Stanley Cup final, are they going to come back in October? Or is it just a fad? Like, hey, the coolest thing to do in Nashville right now is to buy a Smash hat and go to Broadway. You may not be a hockey fan, but it's the place to be. It's the place to be seen. And I knew that it wasn't going to reach those heights again the following season. But the thing with sports fans, most sports fans, not diehard sports fans are fickle. That a lot of you, when the team is winning, you're interested. When the team is not, you're not. That's just the way it is. So I will be curious to see how patient fans will be. Jeremy in Clarksville says, I think the Predators would weather a rebuild better than the Titans. Football fans don't deal well with losing seasons. Joey from Bellevue says, I'll be a fan for both Titans and Preds, even if they are rebuilding. I go to the games when it's within my budget. I have season tickets to Nashville SC, so I can only budget a few games. Being a soccer guy from Germany, my team for 30 years has had many ups and downs. I develop a love for the team. You learn to appreciate the good seasons when you endure seasons the Preds and the Titans just had.
That is a very sensible, loyal mentality that every sports business and sports organization hopes that there's a lot of that person, right?
Joe is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Joe, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, gentlemen, good morning. The beauty is for ownership of both sports is no matter what, they're going to benefit because it's like I've always said, with the NFL, there's only 8 home games a year. And you take a place like Nashville, which is a major destination nationally now. For example, I got the Patriots that come in here in the fall. I got like a half a dozen buddies that are coming down to the game. And as far as hockey is concerned, once people have adopted hockey and understand the game, I mean, you see, it's always a great ticket to go see hockey live. So ownership's all set either way. Winning cures everything. So you never have to worry with the Titans with only 8 home games. And as far as the Preds are concerned, it's a great ticket. And you know what? It doesn't take a rebuild. Even if they can make a decent run, even a round into the playoffs, it'd be great. Guys, love the show. Thanks so much for taking the call. Have a great weekend.
You as
All right.
well, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. I think he hit on one thing that's, I wouldn't say unique to Nashville, but Nashville is among the higher end cities of, you have the fallback of a lot of people coming in, making a trip to Nashville, staying downtown. It's so easy. You experience the wackiness, the nuttiness of the nightlife, the music, and you go see your favorite team play. That is, I think both franchises have benefited from that. The Predators have taken steps to protect their own fans, to keep their own fans in the building. That does get harder to do if you're going in a rebuild. You might have to just throw your hands up and say, we're just going to let the people from the other team buy the tickets without restrictions. We know that was maybe the biggest thing that the Titans lost, and I still don't think they've got it back, is they lost control of who owns the PSLs. The reselling of the PSLs for people that didn't want to buy the tickets anymore, they are mostly in the hands of ticket brokers who sell the seats for the highest dollar. And most of the time, when the team's not successful, who buys those tickets? People from out of town.
Well, I vividly remember the Minnesota Vikings coming to Nissan Stadium last season and taking over the stadium. A lot of purple, a lot of skull, right? A lot of this. And to the caller's point, money is money for the owners. It's still going in their pockets. But it's not a great look when your home stadium is filled with opposing fans.
No. And they went through this even when they started to win under Vrabel. There was still a lot of games. You can look at the record. If you can go find the press conference, there are times when Mike Vrabel is asked a lot about, hey, what did you think of the fact that there's still a lot of teams, the other team's fans in your building? Like he had to make statements about that. They fought that because it doesn't happen overnight. Once you lose control, it's that much harder to get it back. And by the way, when they open this new stadium, there's not any guarantee at all with the prices they're asking for that the same thing isn't going to happen. You have a chance to start it over, but they're not going into this, hey, let's get our loyal fan base back. Let's create a great atmosphere. No, they're trying to squeeze every dollar out of every seat, and you're going to see the other team's fans invade that place a lot, I'm afraid.
Let's go to Wayne on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Wayne, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys. I'm going to speak on the Preds at least. I don't know so much about the Titans prices and stuff like that, but I live in Kansas City now. I lived in Nashville all my life, big Preds fan. But every time I try to come back to a home game, the top row is like $90 a piece. And that's just really outside of my price range. I really feel like the Preds, after that Stanley Cup run, started pricing out that normal fan. So you ran into that point of where it became a place to be seen, as you said, Adam, earlier, of it's more luxury spots, and people that are in the Lexus Lounge aren't coming back out into the arena to cheer on the team. So it's really tough for me to come back. I end up going on more road games than I do anything else because the tickets are cheaper.
Thank you for the call, Wayne. Wayne, I think, was at the grocery store. Sounded like someone was
the checkout person.
It sounded like a checkout. Thanks for calling from the grocery store.
I do think that is a dilemma that starts happening, especially when a team is successful and there's more demand for your tickets. It's hard not to try to. Yeah, I mean, it is a business, right? You've got, and especially it's competitive. You're trying to drive revenue so you can pay top dollar and get to the salary cap salary cap ceiling, which may not be something to take for granted, like it has been the last decade with the Predators. Remember, there were many years where they were a middle class team that could not, and I would stress could not rather than would not. They could not pay to the salary cap ceiling. They just didn't have the revenue. And that has become, with the new ownership, the current ownership, a thing of the past. But with the cap rising so fast, you have to build the revenue somewhere so you can get a competitive payroll out there, which I know they're going to be able to do. But let's not take for granted that wasn't always the case.
One texter says,
so you have to raise ticket prices.
If I'm downtown and want an evening's entertainment, there are a lot of good options. Preds are going to have trouble competing for eyeballs if they're consistently bad. I mean, that is one great thing about our city. There is so much to do, but I think this is interesting because you often hear, as the caller just said, the loyal fan has been priced out of going to games. And that's not a problem unique to Nashville. That happens across all sports. But it's rare, anecdotally at least, for teams to slash ticket prices. Once they go up, they don't really come back down. Maybe they'll freeze the price of tickets, but once they start increasing the prices, they don't usually decrease the prices. Although I did find a story in The Athletic from April from the Seattle Kraken, who announced a reduction in ticket prices for 80% of seats at Climate Pledge Arena. Season ticket holders will receive a 25% discount on food and beverages. A package that includes 4 tickets, soda, and popcorn will cost $150. Select seats in Amex Hall, the lower and upper bowls, will decrease by $56, $35, and $4 respectively per game. So, and Seattle is a new team.
Mm-hmm.
They made the playoffs one time. They were incredibly lucky to make the playoffs that one time, and they've been bad otherwise.
And not only did they make it, they pulled a huge upset.
They did.
And beat the defending champions in the first round, which had everybody salivating for, hey, they're going to be just like the Golden Knights. And it hasn't been that easy. And to be honest, the league got smarter and did not allow the Kraken to capitalize on the rules. The Vegas, I think, they benefited from the league not really knowing how to do the expansion draft under the new rules. The league got a lot smarter. So the Kraken have a lot of growing pains going on right now for that reason. And I think one of the things that they had to do to get the team, they had to sell all the tickets to start. And so there was a commitment for a long time by fans to buy a certain amount of season tickets. And that is probably expiring now. So they got to keep them coming back. And the team hasn't been as good, but they've already had a taste of success. So it makes it even tougher, I think, because expectations, they're not as patient as maybe they might have been.
Robert at Nashville says,
that's a unique city and team to watch.
Robert in Nashville says, stop it. Nashville, it's a blessing and a curse. Being a destination city, people will come in for 3 days. They will watch their favorite hockey team play against the Predators or watch their favorite football team play against the Titans. Enjoy 2 to 3 nights in our amazing city, eating in our restaurants, drinking in our bars, shopping in our stores, and keeping the state income tax-free with that revenue. Enjoy what you have. I'm not saying we don't enjoy what we have.
I agree, but this is where a loyal fan of the team, it really burns them. And I'll give you an example. I remember when the Blackhawks had the height of their rise, and it was so trendy for Blackhawks fans to be all over the country. They were invading every building, including Nashville. And, man, it irked a lot of season ticket holders. It irked them a lot, to the point where ownership said, you know what, I don't blame these guys. They actually took money out of their own pockets. The chairman at the time was Tom Cigaran, and he was the guy saying, that's okay. I'll take a little less money to keep our season ticket holders and our fans wearing the gold jerseys in the building at the expense of guys paying top dollar to come in for the other teams. And it wasn't just the Blackhawks. That was by far the biggest example, but the Blues would have an occasional good year and they'd have a lot of people coming in. So it's hard to get out of that if you fall back on that. But it's a product of a rebuild. It happens a lot around the league. It's not just Nashville, but as we've talked about, Nashville is a perfect city to fly in. You're close from the airport to downtown. You get a place downtown. You stumble around for a couple of days. You see your game, and there's a lot of things to do. It's the perfect city for that. So you have to know that if you're one of the teams, the Titans or the Predators.
615-737-1025. We will wrap up the week by taking it to the bank And we will also pay tribute to our friend and co-host Derek Mason as he enters the Tennessee Pro Sports Hall of Fame. Well, actually, it's the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame because there are college athletes in it as well. The Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. We will do that next. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, 1025, 1063, The Game. D. Mace Vingan and Donick, 1025, 1063, The Game. Willie Donick, Adam Vingan, David Janes here with you. Chase and Big Joe coming up next. They are back from Atlanta SEC Media Days has concluded. They will be live at the Omni Nashville Hotel downtown from noon to 3. We will all be back at our normal time slots next week. So we will be back at 11 on Monday. Chase and Big Joe will be back at 9. Of course, Jared at 2 and Robbie and Rexroad at 6 a.m. So we will be back in our normal spots next week. But let's take it to the bank with our friends at F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Easy for me to say. Visit one of their locations throughout Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky or online at myfmbank.com. Well, Willie, David, the pickings are slim, but let's have some fun. Let's take it to the bank before the end of the show. Willie, why don't you go first?
Well, I will go to what I know, and that is that Major League Baseball is back. Got some big games going on. 2 weeks to the trading deadline. For me, it's not a slow time of the year. I got baseball. I love it. So you got Yankees Braves this weekend in Atlanta. Look, this is a tough dilemma for me because I don't like the Yankees and I don't like the Braves. But the Braves are in the Mets division, so I find myself in a tough position where I kind of have to hope the Yankees win. So I will say, let's go with the Yankees to win 2 out of 3 against the Braves.
Okay.
That is really, really tough because no matter what I do, I'm going against my own judgment. I can't, it's hard to root for people, but because we live in this area and there will be people watching, I am very curious to see with the Braves, who have had all kinds of things go wrong, what they look like in the post-All-Star break. I hesitate to say second half because it's kind of a misnomer. We're past the halfway point. You got less than half of a season, but there's still plenty of time to make a run. But I will say Yankees win the series in Atlanta. I'll also say that the Red Sox, their winning streak will come to an end, but I think I'm going to say the Red Sox will take 2 of 3 from the Cubs at Wrigley, another featured series that I think will be worth watching. Two teams playing pretty good ball right now. Cubs 57-39 on the year.
Willie's going to be that fan at the Braves-Yankees series holding up the sign that says, I hope both teams lose.
Yes.
I will take it to the bank by saying that Willie will catch the rat this weekend. Mark it down.
God, I hope it's not a rat.
A mouse.
A mouse.
Sorry, a rodent.
Well, we're going to find out if the trap works. We'll see what ends up on that thing.
You've got all of the peanut butter suggestions.
Yes.
Take it
I've been coached up.
Take it from our texter who works in pest control.
Yes. And I might need to get that guy. Just if I need the pro to come out, if this problem persists, I'm just going to call in the pros.
Put the peanut butter on the trap, but don't set the trap so that the mouse eats the peanut butter, and then you do it again. But yeah,
I'm just hoping for the best.
I predict that on Monday at 11 o'clock, Willie's going to come in and said, I got him.
The mouse?
Yes.
It's gone.
Yes.
You have a little too much confidence in me, I'm afraid.
I do have a lot of confidence in you. David, what about you, my friend?
As a avid Cardinals fan, we've had a bad month of baseball. But we will beat the Arizona Diamondbacks this week. I think they're going to win the series. It may not happen, but I have to be hopeful. That's the one thing about sports.
They've got some decisions to make.
A
lot of decisions, but because of the extra wild card, 2 weeks to the trade deadline, the Cardinals are a great example of a team very much in the race for the wild card, but how much do you want to play for the right now, and how much do you want to play the long game?
Exactly.
Like their closer, Ryan Helsley, has been talked about in that vein, right?
Yeah. He's been there's been a lot of trade talks with him. Nato has been in a lot of talks as well. It's just at this point, I am for whatever works. Like if at this point, I mean, they're just like
there's even a lane where you could trade your closer or you trade somebody who's a key player and still try to make the playoffs.
Exactly.
That is what teams try to do in that spot sometimes.
But all you gotta be is hopeful.
Yeah, Nolan Arenado is a big name.
He's a big decision to make.
Before we go this week, I do want to pay tribute to our co-host, who's not here right now, Derek Mason, who will be inducted into the Tennessee Sports, not the Pro Sports, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame tomorrow. Now, Willie, I want you to start because you have known Derek and have worked with Derek for much longer than I have. But any words for our dear friend Derek Mason as he enters the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame tomorrow?
I can't remember. Were you on the show? You were on the show when Brad Willis came in. We surprised Derek.
I
on the
somehow
air.
was able to keep that a secret. I am terrible at keeping secrets.
Yeah.
I was there. Yes, we were at
So
Barrel House.
We said a lot that day, but I will say that it is very well deserved. And I hope that there is a day where he gets better consideration, deeper consideration for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because things evolve, right? It may not have looked as clear as maybe it does with each passing year of what he did in the context of what the league was like at the time. But this is a slam dunk for him. I just have always admired his competitiveness, the edge that he played with, the great teams that we should never take for granted, because I don't, the team has really not had that run of success that they did at the very, very beginning, and he was a big, big part of it. And I always admired that Derek worked his way up. Nothing came easy for him at the pro level. And he could have just been another player who was drafted in the 4th round, had a nice couple years in the league, and can tell everybody, I played in the NFL. But he just kept getting better and better and better with age, which I think really sets him apart from a lot of people. And we've enjoyed him as a person, right? He's a good friend, and he is a guy that has reinvented himself in his post career. He's had a lot of success in his post career, and he's carved out a niche as a radio analyst. And so we enjoy working with him every day.
Quickly, the texter who works in pest control says, "Give Willie my number, please. Tell him to call me directly if he has any questions this weekend."
Boom.
That is why we love all of you.
Write it down.
That is why we love all of you. So I have had the distinct pleasure of working with Derek Mason every weekday now for nearly a year. If you can believe it, the 1-year anniversary of D. Mace Vingen and Donick is fast approaching in September. And I knew Derek, of course, before I started working with him, but I didn't get to know him as well as I do now until I was working with him every day. And the one thing that I can absolutely tell from working with Derek is just how beloved he is by all of you. He had 8 fantastic seasons for the Tennessee Titans. And I hear it when you call and text how much you respect Derek Mason for what he did with the Tennessee Titans and how much he means to a lot of you as Tennessee Titans fans. So that really puts into perspective how important he is to the franchise and how deserving he is to be a member of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. I agree with Willie. Hopefully one day he will be a member of a different Hall of Fame that's football related. But it's been an absolute pleasure to work with Derek for the past 10 months on a daily basis. And it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun getting to know him. And again, it's been so evident how much all of you love Derek Mason, how much you recall how productive he was for the Tennessee Titans. So very happy for him. Very happy for him and his family. And I've missed working with Derek this week. Derek was out at the beginning of the week. He's been filling in with Jake Lyman on Jared's show, which he will do again from 3 to 6. I'm happy that we'll all be back together on Monday at our normally scheduled 11 o'clock. But congratulations, Derek. You absolutely deserve it. And I know all of our listeners feel the same way. So I've said my piece.
All right. Yep. I'm looking forward to Monday's show because the aftermath of the ceremony and everything like that.
Yes. The texter says, my pest control company is better. Give him my number. Now we have a fight about pest control companies. Schoolyard bash. Schoolyard bash on our text line.
We need to call some of our people here.
Yes.
We can do something about that.
Yeah. I mean, whichever one of you sponsors our show will be the one we call. How about that? You sponsor us, we'll call you. I'm always working, baby. Like a professional wrestler. I'm always working. So yes, we are very, very proud of Derek. and I'm sure he will discuss it a little bit on Stillman and Company later from 3 to 6. I don't believe he's giving a speech at the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I believe there's a Q&A. Shea Weber will also be a part of the festivities.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
There are a lot of great athletes from our state who will be inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. But first and foremost, congratulations to our very own Derek Mason for his induction. But that'll do it for us this week. It's been fun being on from 9 to 12, but you know what? I'm looking forward to getting back to our normal 11 to 2. So we will be back in full force next week. Willie, Derek, David, and I will all be back next week. We will be back at 11 o'clock. Chase and Big Joe will be back on from 9 to 11. But for one more day, Chase and Big Joe live from the Omni Nashville Hotel from 12 to 3. Coming up next on behalf of our soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Derek Mason. Be loved. Love on your people. Have a wonderful weekend. Congratulations, Derek. We look forward to talking to you all again at 11 o'clock on Monday. Peace.